Hey there, I'm supposed to be cleaning up because I finished part 2 of the table saw build. Well, actually I finished it a few days ago, and what I did was I took apart everything and I coated it with water-based polyurethane, 3 coats. I even fixed up where I went too far with the curve thing after making it straight and filling that in. So, you know what? You do what you gotta do. It's a design as you go type deal. I'll tell you what though, I really miss spraying. I really should have sprayed this stuff because it took way too long to paint it all by hand. You know? Especially when you got something like the hand wheel here that has these holes. You get in there with the brush and it's dripping all over the place. You can't, I'm using like a 2-inch brush. So it's not running all over, it's dripping, it's making a big mess, and I could just and it'd be done. 15 minutes later, flip it over, again, and it's done. First coat, sand it. And after you sand that first sprayed on coat, it's like glassy smooth on the second coat. Here it is, I've got 3 coats on this already, and it's still not as smooth. You just can't get as good a finish when you're brushing it on. Some people like that kind of thing though, they think it's more authentic. I don't think it's necessary for something like this to be authentic. It's authentic enough, it's made of wood. Anyway, what am I making this video about? I'm not making this video about anything, actually. I can think of something to talk about, but what I mainly came out here to do was to test another microphone and see if it's any better. This is one that I bought a few months ago, and mainly I've been using it in my office for voiceover stuff in there, and videos I make in there. But I'm thinking that it would probably work better out here, and I'll take the other one in. We'll see. It's a better microphone than I had before. And yeah, so I have enough of that now. I could end the video right here, right? Maybe I should talk about the saw. I don't know. Posted a video on my main channel on the first one, and I think it's up around 180,000 views already, or by now I should say. And that's pretty good. I was expecting less, but like I said before, the thumbnail makes a huge difference. If you manage to get a thumbnail that's at all eye-catching, people will click on the video just to see what it is. Even if they're not that. And another thing about that, I said this before too, if you make a catchy looking thumbnail and the video's not what people are looking for, then they click away quickly. And I have a really good example of that, actually. I got my gear connected vise over there. That video, I started off with one thumbnail, with one view, one angle showing it, and then I changed it to a more straight on thumbnail. And as soon as I did that, the views went up. Except the watch time went way down. People were clicking on it and they were, because what the heck is that? And then when they got into it, they realized that it's a video about building this stuff. And it's not just a build video. It's one that goes with plans. So I was being a little bit more detailed, a little bit more methodical with it. So I was really explaining it out. Not that it's an hour long or anything, but it is what it is. It's a build video for the plans. So I took a little bit of a different approach to the table saw videos this time around. I want to make it a little bit more, I can't say entertaining, but at least engaging for people that just are casual viewers, that are not interested in the specifics of the build. So, you know, as much as I filmed, I cut a lot out. So it's always good to have more film though than you actually need. But yeah, I think it turned out well. I finished editing the second video this morning. It's Thursday, by the way. And that one is the same. It's good, I think. It's a little shorter. The first one was around 10. This one's around 8. It covers a little bit less of the build. But the next one in line will cover quite a lot more. It'll be the actual, like the outside part of the saw. And then I think it's going to be a total of 4 videos. Because then the fourth one will be the top itself, cutting in the miter slots and get everything lined up. And then as for the fence, I'm on the fence about that. Whether I should just take the fence off the table saw here and put it onto that one, or build a new one and update the plans a little bit. The reason, no one's asked me this yet, surprisingly, the reason why I'm building this now, and I'm building it rather quickly, is because this thing is dying. There's nothing wrong with the stuff I made. Everything's working fine. It's the circular saw that I put in there is dying off. Like, I had a comment that really, like, it matched it almost to the day when this happened. I got a comment from a guy asking how the saw was holding up, whether it was, you know, wearing out. And almost that very same day, I came out and I noticed that the saw was like, it was slowing down. And you could probably hear it if you're listening carefully in some of the videos. You'll hear it says almost like it's slowing down. And then occasionally when you turn it, like when you shut it off, it'll give that really rackety sound that tells me it's got a bad bearing. So the bearings are going in the saw. I'll be lucky if I get everything made from this with it before it totally dies. I don't want to go out and buy a replacement for it. I got that saw as part of the deal when I got the tools from Canadian Tire. It's not a very good saw, okay? I have a better handheld circular saw up there, the one that I've had for almost 20 years, I would say, and I've done so much work with it. And I've got no reason to go and buy another saw. You know, that's corded, right? I've got the other one, the DeWalt battery-powered one. I also had a Makita battery-powered one that I bought brand new a couple of years ago, but unfortunately that died on me. So I don't know about that. Makita is kind of funny that way because you can get some real gems and then other times you can get some real lemons. And that goes back to me talking about, you know, tool reviews and the value of them. You know, I can say that impact driver over there is good, but that's just that one. I mean, I've got this drill, and occasionally it will stop. Now, I don't know if the brushes, because this thing is only a couple years old, and I've only been using it out here. There's no way the brushes should be wearing out. Occasionally it will stop while I'm drilling something, and I have to, you know, press the trigger again. Could be the trigger, could be some of the electronics in here, I don't know. But how did I get talking? Oh yeah, talking about the saw. So the circular saw is wearing out, so that's no more good. The saw cabinet, like, how long ago did I make that? It's a year now for sure. And look at all the stuff that I did with it. So I got my value out of the project. Certainly. I'm not one of these people that builds something and then expects that it's going to last me for 40 or 50 years. I'm happy if I get, you know, a couple, 3, 4 years out of it without any problems. Like, look around my shop, there are plenty of examples of things that are older than that I built, you know. Bandsaw, I built that what, almost 10 years ago now, 8 years ago. I started more than 8 years ago. And, you know, I spent some time working on it, you know, upgrading certain things. But, you know, every time I need to use it, it's there, it's ready to go. So, I don't know. This saw that I'm building here now is not the same as the Epic table saw that I started to build a few months back. I'm going to finish that saw, don't worry. But this one, like I said in another video on this channel, is more for plans, since I don't have any intention of making plans for that big saw. Because I simply don't see people making. I don't see that many people making this. Because what you need to do is you need to get one of these. And that can be difficult for some people to locate, or it might be expensive. And, you know, there's the possibility of having it made in a machine shop. But I don't know how much that kind of thing costs. I have no idea what it costs here. It's probably expensive. It's probably more than I paid for this thing, which was around 20 bucks, which I think is well worth that. But, you know, and then not to mention that how much work is involved, not only in just putting the thing together, fine-tuning it, and finishing all the parts and all that stuff. I mean, it's a labor of love when you get into something like this. It's not a way to save money. And this is the way a lot of people that go into this kind of thing are thinking. They're thinking they're going to save money. You know, they're going to have a saw that's equal to, you know, a $500 or $600 saw. In some ways it would be, but in other ways it's not. I mean, you can build some pretty rugged stuff with wood and plastic like I'm using here, but it never equals metal. Even the softest metal, like the pot metal, it never equals that. So the only thing that you have, the biggest advantage is that you built it from the ground up. You know exactly how it went together. You know all the components involved. And if it breaks, you can fix it. So that's the big bonus right there. Also, if you're able to get stuff for cheap, like the motor and all that, then, you know, you can get something that costs less money overall. As long as you have the place to build it and the tools to build it with. Even if you have to borrow that kind of stuff. You know, you got a neighbor, it's friendly, maybe you mow his lawn every week or whatever, and he lets you use his garage where he's got all these tools, and you break the first one and he's, you know, jumping down your throat. Speaking of the motor, I have the one from the Delta saw on the floor over there. That's the one that was on my old cast iron table saw. And man, I decided to take it apart. Well, first of all, I wanted to reverse it because originally I was thinking it was turning the wrong way, but then I kind of reversed that again, ironically. I went to a lot of trouble of getting it rewired to reverse it, and then I reversed it again. But it was so packed with wax. I mean, I spent almost a full day trying, well, you know, in between the other stuff that I was doing with the wiring and all that. And, you know, other stuff like sitting around. I spent almost a full day, you know, cleaning the wax out of it. I had the heat gun out, melting it. I had it out in the sun so it'd stay warm, and I had a puddle of wax dripping out on the cardboard that I had out on my workbench out there, and scraping it out and blowing out all the sawdust. You should have seen the dust that was in there. It was amazing. Like, that wax really holds onto the dust, and then every area of it was packed. Like, it's a ventilated motor. There's a fan inside. Not my first choice for a table saw. But, you know, it beats me going out and spending nearly $400. So I look at it that way. I spent a day messing around with that, and I saved $400. It's the same as making $400 that day. That's the way I always look at things. Anyway, this is probably getting a little bit long, so I'm going to stop talking here.
You know how people say, "You're okay in my book," or In my book, that's no good. Well, I actually have a book. And everybody I ever meet goes in this book. And now I've met you, and you're going in the book.